This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Sha la 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 la. This is how we right, ladies, because it's Wednesday morning. That is right. Let's see. Today is the 9th of June already. My mind is just blown. I can't even believe that. I don't know. 2020 was like this weird blur, and then now it's 2021, and it's already over. It's halfway over, which is really bizarre. And the world's starting to open up. And I was at this networking event last night, and it just seemed there were a lot of us, and we were like, we feel like we're doing something wrong because we were there, and most everyone I talked to was vaccinated. And anyway, but it just felt wrong, like we were talking to each other and we didn't have our masks on, and we were walking around the club where we were at. And yeah, it was just, it was like back to normal. We're like, is this a thing? Like, can we be here? Like, we felt like we were doing something naughty. And I'm here with these, business professionals. Actually, it was the Chamber of Commerce. And we're like, we feel naughty doing this. So, anyway, so it is happening. We are getting back to normal. This was such an incredible week. This has been, and it is Wednesday, but yes, we are halfway through the year. It blows my mind. The other thing that blows my mind is how many different hairdos I have, to be quite honest. It's amazing to me. It varies from day to day. So this is what it looks like today with my 80s headband, which I'm a big fan of. So this week, we're talking about blame and ownership and accountability and all of the things, because if we want to step into the most powerful version of ourselves, we've talked about how we need to take that ownership, how we need to take that responsibility of our life, whether or not it was something that we did or didn't do. It's something that we need to take responsibility for. I gave a presentation yesterday, Stepping into Your CEO, and that's what we talked about, all about accountability, and how when we take accountability, that changes everything. Because what happens when we place blame? Yeah. When we place blame, we give away our power. It's like, oh, that was, oh, you. So I did a little more digging today, because today is Words Matter Wednesday. And I was thinking about the word that applies to ownership and what really rubs me the wrong way. And we need to be careful of the words, because words matter. What you say matters to your conscious and your subconscious. So it's important that we become very aware of the words that we're starting to use. Remember, we talked about how even just the words we're saying out loud to people, how they matter. We saw Rachel Hollis several months ago, and she had some words that she put out there, and the association that people put with those words, it ended up having a pretty big impact on her career, I will say. I will go out on I don't know if that's a limb. I think that's probably a known fact at this point. And it's not that it's irreversible. But the reason we need to be careful of our words is because words matter. They matter to other people. How are other people going to interpret these words? How do we interpret these words? How does our subconscious interpret these words? For example, my podcast is called Level Up to 2.0. And I had a conversation with someone one time, and they said, yeah, Jen, but I don't want to just level up to the next best version of myself. I want to be at the top. And I said, okay, I hear you. I don't want to be at the top. You don't want to be at the top. Why don't you want to be at the top? Because if you say you're at the top, then you're telling your brain you have no room to go and no room to grow. Mm. And they say if you're not growing, you're dying. Is that what the phrase is? If you're not growing, you're dying? I think that's what it is. Anyway, my point is, I do believe that until we take our very last breath, that we are growing. Life is always presenting us new things. And it's not always this, oh, my career gets better and better and better and bigger and bigger and bigger. At some point, you may say, I don't even want all this responsibility. No, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in retiring. I'm interested in vacationing the rest of my life. I've known people that have just decided to travel the world and that's what they do, which is completely different than when you want to go start a company, and it's just different phases. But we're growing through all of those. So there's no better, no worse, whatever. They're just different phases. So no, I don't want to be at the top. I want to just get to that next best stage. I want to be able to get through whatever I'm going through and grow and learn and be at my best. That's it. So, no, I'm not interested in being at the top. So, that was the conversation that I had with this individual. So, see why words matter, because what we're telling ourselves, we're like, I'm at the top. But really, you're telling your brain, you have nothing else you can learn. You have nothing else that you can grow. You're there. That's it. Boom, you're done. And I don't like that. So I'm going to level up to the next best version of myself. So this week, when we're talking about ownership, this word fault, it really rubs me the wrong way. And every morning, so my routine is every morning I get up at 4:45, and usually I hit the snooze button once and I kind of just wait for my body to wake up and all that, while my cat's in my face like, "Come on, mom, you should get out of bed." And then I get up and I start wrapping my mind around what we're going to talk about. And so I've been wrapping my mind around this for the last hour. And I looked up the definition of fault in the dictionary, and Webster says it's an admittance of failure. Oof. And you know how I feel about that word failure. If you don't, go back and listen. It's in, I can't remember which week it was, but it was one of our Wednesdays. We talked about words matter and the word failure and why that word doesn't land well. And failure, what do we talk about failure? That it's really, we didn't fail. It's either an opportunity to learn, right? Or it was a course correction. But either way, there was growth. So when I saw the words of looking at fault and what is it, that it was an admittance of failure, I thought, ooh, that's just tricky. That's a tricky word. These are like the dirty F words. It was like, oh, we removed failure, but we can use this word fault and it means the exact same thing. No, because we're going to remove that. We're going to really be careful anytime that we want to use it. Fault. Ooh, it's his fault. It's my fault. It's an admittance of failure. What did we talk about when we talked about failure and what that is? It doesn't feel good to fail. It doesn't feel good, like it's your fault. Ooh. And we have to be careful of the energies that we are putting out, the energies that we're surrounding ourselves by. Look at a magnet. I want you to think about you as a magnet. And let's say we have like positive and negative, positive and negative. What happens when you put like a magnet? Like if you just had a magnet that would like this and you went around, it would attract anything that had that same magnetic energy, right? And you would things would start to attract to it. That's what a magnet does. You are a magnet. You're a positive magnet. You're a negative magnet. It all depends what energy you choose to tune your frequency to. For many years, I was a pretty negative magnet. And when I told people that as I was going through my transformation, that I was getting rid of negativity, a lot of people said, "Oh, Jen, you negative?" And it didn't mean that I was just hum to hum to hum. I was just angry all the time. But there was negativity within me. I was dating this guy and I used to send him videos every single morning. Hey, good morning. It was usually on my drive into work. And after we broke up, I went back and I watched a lot of these videos. And this was the guy that launched me into my sobriety. He was the one that said, "Jen, you need to learn to love yourself." And that whole journey of self-love in my world started. And I went back after a few months and I watched some of these videos and I thought, holy smokes, I am so completely negative and I had no idea. So my videos would look like this. Hey, good morning. How are you? Hope you slept well. Da, 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 da. And then a train would come by. stupid train. Oh, I'm going to be late for work. Yeah, so I hope you slept well. Did you take the dog out? I'm still sitting here. Like whatever was in my head was just coming out. And I was like, wow, there is this like, yes, hi, how are you? But then you would see the other part of me that was like, oh, this train, it is impacting my life. and and you could just see that underlying negativity. And I thought, yeah, no wonder, no wonder we're not dating. This guy doesn't want this negativity in his life. So we have to be so careful of the words that we're using, of the energy that we're giving, because it impacts other people. And I don't know. I don't think that if I was this super positive person, I don't know. I don't know if our relationship would have lasted or not, but it certainly impacted my relationship. So if you are a negative person, it is going to impact the positive people around you. It is going to be that polarizing magnetic force. And it's going to be that attractive magnetic force for all those other people that are negative. This guy had more positivity than I did. And he was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with that. That's not the kind of good morning that I want. And kudos for him for having that awareness, for having those boundaries, for having all of that in his life. Kudos to him. So, fault. What is fault? It's this admittance of failure. So, how else can we look at fault? I mean, I mean, everything, the fault in the ground, like it's a crack, like it's this error, it's this thing. I think of this like deep, like the Grand Canyon. We talk about faults in many ways. Yeah, like the fault of the earth. Ooh, do you want to live on the fault? I don't know. It's kind of risky. Yeah, there's something about this word fault that it doesn't land right. But what if it was an opportunity? Instead of fault, that was an opportunity to improve. It was that opportunity to find that lesson. Would that land better? Ooh, instead of it's my fault, it's my opportunity. Yeah, I think I like that. I think I like that. There's nothing positive about it's my fault, it's my fault. Now, we talked about this week taking responsibility. Now, here's the difference. When you look up responsibility, that's taking ownership. Ownership and fault do not go, they aren't synonymous. There are things that happen in your life, and you have to take responsibility for them, even if maybe you had nothing to do with them. You may say, you know what? I grew up in a lower income family. Not my what? Fault. It's not my fault. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Let's say opportunity. Is it your opportunity? Yeah. If you continue to blame these things in your life, well, I'm not where I want to be because my parents never played basketball with me. Oh, because my friends never had me on the basketball team. Oh, because the coaches never called me to play basketball. That's why I don't play basketball today. See how I blamed everyone else for the reason that I don't play basketball? The reason I don't play basketball is because I made the decision that I didn't want to play basketball. That puts me in the power position. That is me taking ownership and responsibility versus blaming my sister, blaming my parents, blaming my friends, blaming the coaches, which by the way, I don't have any issues with with basketball. But that's something that easily I could do. And how many times do we find ourselves as human beings blaming other people? Well, my parents never allowed me to do this as a kid. Okay, well, you're an adult now. So maybe you just should. Well, I didn't come from money, so that's why. And we make these excuses and we're blaming and everybody else, everybody else. Where is your ownership in this? And that's what we're talking about. That power, stepping into the most powerful version of ourselves. And how do you do that when it's everybody else's blame? You're blaming everybody else. No, Whose responsibility is it? Blame equals responsibility. It's your responsibility. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was your fault or your failure, but you're the one that's responsible for your life. So that's why we're not blaming, we're taking responsibility. And it doesn't mean that you're saying, I'm the one that did that thing. Sure, you didn't ask to grow up in a lower income family. You didn't ask to be abused. You didn't ask for any of those things. I get it. I get it. But you look for where was your ownership? Where was your part in that? You look for how you're going to grow from it. And that's all. You move on. We're not going to hold on to the past. So ownership and responsibility is not the same as fault. There are lots of things that can happen to you, and you say, that's okay. That's not going to define me. I'm going to define me. I'm going to pick my path in life, and it's not going to be that one. I take ownership. I take responsibility of my space. I want a better life for myself. I want to go learn how to play basketball. I want whatever I want, and I go after it because that's what we do as these powerful women. Ladies, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about stepping into the most powerful version of ourselves, becoming intentional about our lives, becoming intentional about our days. We've seen so many women that have stepped out of corporate, that have stepped out of their positions because right now this world is in pain. And so this is us coming back together and saying, ladies, we can do this. It's okay. I know that there's this huge burnout that exists out there. And when we come together and we support each other and we love each other, we can all rise together. And we talk about these important things like blame and failure and fault and ownership and accountability, because these are things that are going to help us heal. These are things that are going to help us grow. And maybe you need a little bit of time from 2020, and that's okay. You say, you know what? I really, truly was burnt out and I need a little bit of time for myself. And that's okay. Take that time. Take that time. But keep listening to words that are going to help uplift you. And whether that's me or someone else, I don't know. But I come on every single day because I want to help raise you up, give you the strength to do whatever it is that you want to do. Grow that business, start that business, go for that leadership position. Become a president, whatever you want to do. I want you to feel empowered. But there are these words that are blocking us from where we want to be, like failure and fault. It's not fault, it's opportunity. This is all opportunity. Everything in our life is an opportunity to grow, to learn. We have to look for the silver lining. We have to start become solutions oriented, because when we're looking for the solutions, then we're not just stuck with whatever it is. Ladies, I want you to happen to life, not life to happen to you. I think of a tidal wave, and how many times have we just had this tidal wave just whoosh? And then what happens? You get knocked off your feet and you're kind of laying there on the sand and you think, oh my gosh, what was that? And you know what? Sometimes we are going to get knocked off, but we got to get back up. We got to get back up. We always do. You can't lose if you always get back up. I've been knocked down so many times in my life, so many times. But there's one thing I know about my personality, and that's I'm tenacious. I will continue to stand up. I am a fighter at my core. And ladies, we are wired to be Wonder Women. We can make human beings. Hello. And whether or not you have the reproductive system that allows you to make a baby, and it's okay if you don't, but we are all designed to be these amazing creatures. You don't have to think about your heart beating, your lungs beating, your eyes, your eyelids beating, any of that. It just happens naturally because we are these incredible human beings. Step into your power. Step into that opportunity. No more failure. No more secret words like fault disguised as the failure disguised as this word fault. They're opportunities. And you take ownership. You take responsibility for everything in your life. Even if you weren't the one. We talked about the CEO that had to take responsibility for the security breach. It wasn't the CEO that was out there actually on the computer doing the thing. But the CEO was the one that said, I'm going to help give the solutions. And we're going to come up with a game plan and we're going to get through this. We're going to admit that there was an error and we're going to move on from it. That's it. That's it, ladies. That's all we need to do. So I hope you are feeling empowered. I want you to like, I want you to subscribe. And more than that, I want you to show up here tomorrow because I'm doing this. We're here every single day at 6 a.m. Central Time. And the good thing about YouTube is it's always living out here. But the intent is that we become intentional about our lives. So we are here at 6 a.m. every morning. Join me. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea or your water or whatever. Just get up, get that blood flowing. And we're coming up. We want the world to know. We're gonna let it show. That's right. Why, ladies? Because we're coming up. We want the world to know. We're gonna let it show. I'll see you here tomorrow. That's right. Same time, same place. Cheers.